Welcome everyone to this wonderful meeting of Tigertales Toastmasters. As the Tigertail International rule, we are expected to keep our cameras on just so that we can see everyone's expression while the speeches are being delivered. So if possible, please switch on your cameras and let's have a wonderful evening tonight. With that, I would like to welcome the Toastmaster for tonight, Kelly. Over to you, Kelly.
Thank you for that opening for us tonight, Ajita. So most, not all of us, perhaps, have felt like we've been under pressure at times. Feeling under pressure often doesn't feel good, but sometimes it can be a motivator for change or something better. I've narrowed what feeling like being under pressure feels like for me in 3 C categories. First, created deadlines. When I had to study for an exam, get a paper or project done, or get my notes done in a day of working or having a speech ready when it's time to deliver it, I felt under pressure. The next C is in competition. The butterflies I get and I feel inside of me before I dove off the racing blocks and swim meets, or standing at a start line for a race, for a marathon or 5K, and even competing with myself or the inner thoughts in my head and perceiving what others think of me can feel like a heavy pressure. Third, comparisons. If I'm comparing myself to others and their strengths or gifts or talents and can't feel myself measuring up, I put these unnecessary pressures on myself, like trying to be the most caring mother or wife, trying to be the most confident speaker, etc. So today we're going to try to stay above and not under pressure to speak what comes from your hearts, and especially hopefully these healthy aspects of what it looks like to be under pressure will come out. I asked each of our speakers today a question about how they cope best with feeling under pressure. So we're going to hear some of those coping strategies today. But before we go on to our prepared speeches, I'm going to introduce our functionaries for tonight. And we're going to start with our timer, who is Ajita. So Ajita, if you could explain the timing rules for our speakers for tonight.
Sure. Thank you, Kelly. For the timing rule for tonight for the speakers are between 5 to 7 minutes. At 5 minutes, I will show the green card. At 6 minutes, I'll show the yellow card. And at 7 minutes, I'll show the red card, where the speakers will have 30 seconds to wrap up their speech. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Ajita. And next, our functionary is going to be our ah counter, who's going to be Mommy. Mommy, can you explain the ah counter role for tonight?
Hello, everyone. As our counter tonight, my role will consist of counting all the filler words speakers will be using during their speeches. And at the end of the meeting, I'll be reporting how well everybody did while speaking.
And our next functionary is our grammarian, who looks like it's going to be Xavier for tonight. Xavier, if you can explain your role as grammarian.
You betcha. My job as the grammarian tonight will be to look for strong and weak uses of word choice and language. With the lineup we have tonight, I'm expecting some greatness to come because I already have some stuff for Kelly, and our speakers are all amazing, and we'll get to see through table topics as well. Additionally, we have a word of the day. It is prevail. It means prove more powerful than opposing forces, or to be victorious. So when we're under pressure, we have to prevail through it and succeed. An example actually comes from Cad Stevens, who is amazing. You should listen to him. I am confident that in the end, common sense and justice will prevail. I'm an optimist brought up on the belief that you will wait till the end of the story. You get to see the good people live happily ever after. Prevail. Back to you, Kelly.
Thank you. And even though it's not on the agenda for under the functionaries for this portion, our clap master tonight is Preetham. So I do want to thank him for stepping into that role, and the clapping you hear is coming from him. So thank you very much for jumping into that role tonight as well. So we'll go on to our we'll move on to our prepared speeches. We have 3 prepared speakers tonight, and we have evaluators evaluating them tonight. And we did change up the order a little bit. Sridhar will not be speaking tonight. Instead, Alex Turner will be taking his place. So Alex is going to shift to the last speaker for tonight. And first, our speaker is going to be Brendan, and his evaluator will be Roberta. So Roberta, if you could explain to us what we'll be anticipating with Brendan's speech tonight.
Tonight, Brendan is working on his dynamic leadership pathway. He's in level 4, and this particular project was focused on a change management plan. Instead of giving us a perhaps factual, documented detailing of that, he's going to weave it into a story of how he's experienced change in his Pinnacle Toastmasters Club and what it meant to overcome some of those challenges by bringing some refreshing perspective to things. So best of luck tonight, Brendan.
And I asked Brendan how he tends to cope or what he does to help himself when he feels under pressure. He said that music has been a really good outlet for stress, but the most effective tool for coping when he feels under pressure is making a list. So simple and extremely effective that has been for him to be able to do that in times of pressure. So he'll be saying a speech from his dynamic leadership pathway, level 4, managing change. And the title of Brendan's speech tonight is The Secret Sauce. The Secret Sauce, Brendan.
What makes a Toastmasters club excellent? Is it the amount of members? Maybe the amount of distinguished Toastmasters, or how many DCP points the club currently has? Maybe it's even the fantastic speeches lovingly crafted by its members. Madam Toastmaster, my fellow Toastmasters and guests, I personally believe it's all of them and some secret sauce. The secret sauce is what makes a club attractive. So attractive that guests are compelled to return and members to remain. The secret sauce is simply all of the unspoken aspects of a speaking club. We as Toastmasters, we can craft an agenda, we can fill in roles, we can assign speaking portions. But if there's some negative energy, if there's frustrations or resentments between the members, that finds its way into the words that we share, and it spoils a meeting. Imagine your favorite restaurant and that dish that's just amazing and you can't quite put, maybe not your finger or maybe your tongue, but that's kind of gross. You can't quite figure out what that secret sauce is that makes that dish so good. You've probably also experienced when that secret sauce is maybe a little too salty and it ruins everything. Same thing with Toastmasters. If there's that unspoken thing in a club, it's hard to put words to, other than the energy that we bring into those meetings can make that an amazing Toastmasters experience or an unfortunate, memorable one. And the worst thing, it could even get to the point of destroying a club. But the start of this Toastmasters year, which for guests or new members, that is in July. Every June, end of June, everything, the books close, we get a new club leadership, we move forward with that leadership. So my home club of Pinnacle Toastmasters, about 6 months ago, we got a new e-board, and it was an exciting change. One of the most exciting pieces of it was every single role in that e-board, executive board for the club, was in a new position. I had been in, I think this is my 4th or 5th position on the e-board, but it was new for me, Vice President Public Relations. Never done it before. I hate social media. It should be fun. Also, about half the e-board was new to the e-board. We had 4, maybe even 5 members from Pinnacle step up into the leadership position. That's fantastic, but also a lot of learning, a lot of catching up to do. So for those first, I'd say 3 or 4 months, there started to be a lot of issues that arose in the club. Some of the e-board members weren't delegating and biting off way more than they could chew. Some were resorting back to duties that weren't theirs, but they were more comfortable doing. President of the club, you should not be taking meeting minutes. Even if that's comfortable, you should be focusing and driving the vision of the club. And some of us, unfortunately in my position, I sat back and watched the drama unfold like my favorite TV sitcom. The breaking point came about 2 months ago. We had set up an agenda, and about 6 hours before, there was a lot of change up, some personal, some necessary. And when we started the meeting, everything on paper was great. It was a perfect meeting, but each of us was so frustrated with each other that the tension was palpable. On paper, the meeting, great, but that vibe was so strong. And the only thing I can be grateful for in that was that we had no guests, because I'm sure if they were there, it would have taken a lot for them to ever come back to a Toastmasters meeting again. So after that meeting, I met with the president. Both of us were frustrated. And what I began to see was I had set a precedent for myself and a couple others to sit back and watch the craziness happen. And others were running rampant and running over other people and what they wanted to do without really involving the rest of the e-board. So we needed 3 things after that meeting. We don't meet every week. We meet every 2 weeks. And so what we needed first was 2 weeks away from each other. We needed not to talk. We needed to have a break. The second was resetting what each of our roles and responsibilities in leading were. But the most important aspect of what we needed was communication. In this club focused on growing our public speaking skills, the leadership aspect, communication that happens with that e-board, the club doesn't see that all the time. In Pinnacle's case, a couple months ago, the club saw what that lack of communication resulted in. So we decided we would meet before our next meeting. And what I encouraged the club was owning my piece of sitting back and watching it all unfold. That I need to own my part in being a part of the e-board and leading with the experience that I've had in the past. And most importantly, the best example I could give in that moment in changing the precedent that had been set was to flip it on its head. All the times I had sat back and been quiet, it was now my turn to sit in an e-board meeting and say, this is how I've failed the rest of you, how I've failed the club in simply not speaking up. When I saw that person taking on too much, that resulted in that crazy switch up in the agenda, which resulted in a bad taste in the emotional air of that meeting. Owning what was mine to own, leading and sharing. That was the best we could offer the club. What makes a Toastmasters club excellent? It's not about having a perfectly crafted agenda. And it's not about having an e-board with years of experience. If anything, we need that new blood in club leadership, because that journey of success and failure, that's what makes Toastmasters great. That secret sauce, that energy we bring in, making sure we're on the same page, that we are communicating behind the scenes, so that when we come with a prepared speech, a club decision, an agenda, that the harmony that exists between us is what the guests are left with and what compels them to want to return. That's the secret sauce. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Brendan. Wow, what a powerful and vulnerable speech that was. And we can definitely take it into our own experiences with RIT, Tigertales Toastmasters, and other clubs that members are a part of. If you go onto your chat screen, you can privately message Brendan and give him some feedback about the speech. Gita, if you could give us 1 minute on a timer, we could take that minute to give him some feedback, please.
Hey, Kelly, we are good to go.
Thank you, Ajita. Our next prepared speech tonight is going to be from Ming Shuo. Ming Shuo's evaluator is going to be Sarah. So Sarah, if you could let us know what we'll be anticipating with Ming Shuo's speech tonight.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Tonight, we are joining level 2 with Ming Shuo. He already finished level 1. This will be the first project in level 2 of his innovative planning pathway. We'll get to learn about Ming Shuo's leadership style. But not only do we get to learn about his leadership style, we get to learn about it while he applies all of the things that he's already learned in his level 1, using all those skills of engaging the audience and organizing his speech. So, looking forward to hearing what you've prepared for us tonight, Ming Shuo.
I asked Ming Shuo how he copes or what he does to help him when he feels under pressure. First of all, he said that was a good question. And he said that he would exercise, listen to music, and just keep doing works or like activity that kind of helps him work through it. So thank you for sharing that, and we can learn from your own experience. So tonight, his title is My Leadership Style. Ming Shuo, My Leadership Style.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. And hello, everyone. Leadership is always a common topic to us. In fact, I couldn't classify leadership into 8 types before preparing for this presentation. I have been a leader many times, and actually, I don't really enjoy being a leader, directing people, which is strange to me. The two things that I scored highest on the leadership questionnaire were democratic and altruistic. Both are great terms in my mind. Democratic symbolize equality and inclusion. Altruistic means sharing and selflessness. Seeing the results made me so happy, as if I was like a democratic revolutionary who crushed oppression. Okay, I'll stop dreaming. Then I thought back to my own experience as a leader. 2 years ago, I became the leader of a class of new college students by serving as an assistant of head teacher. As I led them, I tried to mingle with them, share my stories with them, and listen to theirs. We would play games together, discuss the most current events. I even joined their basketball team to play a friendly game with another class, which helped us bond firmly. It was a great feeling that at that time and made me feel like I fit in with them. When they saw me in the campus, they would shout to me, "Brother Lee, let's have some fun." I'm so glad that I became friends with them rather than hierarchical with them. This made our communication easy and harmonious. They were able to share their ideas with me in time to adjust our whole class plan. I think it's kind of democracy, and it makes the whole class full of human feeling. But at the same time, there are always two sides to every coin. And the choice to listen to everyone's thoughts can have some inescapable complication. Too many voices will stall the process when the task is time critical and needs to be done efficiently. An atmosphere of peace can cause some people to lose their respect for the leader, and the leader to lose the weight of his or her words. And this happened to me when I was an assistant of head teacher. At that time, I was planning an outdoor activity for everyone to improve the bonding among students. So I called the class communities to discuss it. We all had different opinions, and everyone has their own ideas. I listened carefully to theirs and seriously commented on them, as well as letting them discuss on their own, in a spirit of democracy. But then the whole classroom was as chaotic as a food market. When I looked at my watch, I thought to myself, oh, it's already 2.5 hours. I'm going to miss a date with my girlfriend, which means I would be in trouble. So I quickly took control of the situation, finalized the most reasonable plan, and assigned every task to every people. And the whole meeting came to an end. But the whole process could have been completed in 40 minutes, but I took 3 hours. At that time, I really felt that democracy is great, but never too much. This experience was bad enough, wasn't it? Relax. I've had one more worse experience. It still happened during my time as an assistant of head teacher. As I was nearing the end of my college career, I planned to do one last event with these students. I was expecting it to be a sweet goodbye party. After all, I had been with them for about 2 years. In my plan, we would go to the park, share some feelings, say some warm words like, "I love you guys, and you need to take good care of yourself." And also take some pictures to mark the occasion. But it was a humiliating prank when a few of the boys, in a calculated attempt to suddenly lift him up and carry me towards the pool, and threw me into it. Thank goodness I had left my phone in other place instead of my pocket, or it would have been worse. What's more, I have to walk back to campus with dirty and wet clothes. Honestly, I love playing games with them, but that was just too much. They had lost all the respect for me, and it was super embarrassing. In the result of my leadership questionnaire, I scored the lowest on those two items: authoritative and bureaucratic. I think the results are accurate. I don't like make decision in most of the time, and I don't have the credibility for it. I'm always worried about this and that. Like, maybe I should listen to them more, or they'll be unhappy. I think it's probably because of my fear of stepping up and take responsibility. That's probably one of my biggest weaknesses, and it's absolutely something I need to change. I think it's not to say that I should be a dictator, but to remedy this flaw so that I can be brave enough to make timely decisions when leading a team, rather than throwing everyone into chaos. It would also allow me to build credibility and make people feel the respect they deserve from me. After all, I don't want that prank about the pool to happen again. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Ming Shuo. Very insightful about your leadership style and what you can grow in. And I hope that you don't get thrown in a pool again, especially with your phone in your pocket. So we could have 1 minute for some feedback. Ajita, you can let us know when that's up, please. Our next speaker for tonight is going to be Alex, and his evaluator is going to be Destin. So Destin, if you could share with us what we're anticipating with Alex's speech.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Alex is working on his level 3 project of his visionary communication pathway, and the projects of that pathway focus on developing skills for sharing information with the group, planning communication, and creating innovative solutions. And for this level 3 project, the main focus will be on developing a communication plan. The title of Alex's speech is Hate Racism, Love a Racist. I can't wait to be inspired by that. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
And Alex's response to how he copes with feeling under pressure, first of all, he said, today, not well. But when he's under pressure, what helps him to focus is music. So that seems to be a common theme. And as Destin said, the title of Alex's speech tonight is Hate Racism, Love a Racist. Alex, hate racism, love a racist.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our welcome guests. Well, the results are in, or they're very nearly in, and we've learned yet again a very uncomfortable truth. Whether it's 2016 or Brexit or the presidential election this year, we've learned that far, far more racism exists in our culture than we would care to admit. And that half of the folks, very nearly half, are willing to vote for someone who's openly racist and religiously bigoted. It's an uncomfortable truth. And it's easy to want to back away from it. It's a big part of why we never learned the lessons that we were supposed to learn from 2016. Is that we wanted to back away from it. We didn't want to believe that that's a part of who we are as a country and as a world. That's them, but we're us, and it's okay. And I want to invite you into a different way of thinking about this and a different way of living through that reality. And I'll start with a story. The year was 2006. I was in a high school history class, and the subject of the war in Iraq came up. We were about 3 years in. We were talking about it, and a 16-year-old me said something along the lines of, why don't we just nuke them all over there anyway? They're all terrorists after all. I was that callous and racist. I don't know that I could have pointed out Iraq or Afghanistan on a map, or have even told them apart. But I was ready to wish everyone there dead. And now, one of the most honorable and kind men that I have ever met is from Afghanistan. He's back there now, working tirelessly, risking his life to educate boys and girls in rural Afghanistan, to make sure that they learn, that they have an opportunity for a better country. And a 16-year-old me wished him dead, having never met him. I was that racist. I was that much of a nationalist and supremacist, to my lasting shame. So what do we do? And how did I get from there to here? Well, let's take a little bit of a break and talk about thermodynamics. Yeah, you're all technical people. This is RIT. Let's take a break and talk about thermodynamics. Now, I got a D in thermodynamics as a disclaimer, but I did learn this much, that heat is a